The Galactic Academy was the most famous school in the entire galaxy. It floated in space like a giant silver city, slowly orbiting a beautiful blue gas giant. Thousands of ships arrived there every year. Inside the academy studied the brightest young minds from hundreds of alien civilizations. Every species wanted their best students to learn there. Because the Galactic Academy did not just teach science and history. It taught power, survival, and leadership. Inside its massive halls, future commanders, explorers, and leaders were trained. But that year, something unusual happened. For the first time in the Academy's long history, a human student from Earth arrived. News spread across the campus in minutes. Alien students stopped what they were doing. They whispered to each other in confusion and curiosity. Humans were a strange species in the galactic records. Their world was listed as a Category 9 death world. Most civilized species came from peaceful planets. Their worlds had mild weather, calm oceans, and very few dangerous animals. Earth was nothing like that. Earth had storms that could destroy cities. Earth had oceans filled with predators. Earth had deserts, jungles, freezing mountains, and poisonous creatures. And humans had survived all of it. Some species respected humans. Others feared them. But many simply did not believe the stories. Because every time someone saw a human, they looked normal. Not like warriors. Not like monsters. Just normal. And that is why the arrival of the exchange student caused so much attention. The docking bay doors slowly opened as the small transport shuttle landed. Hundreds of alien students gathered behind the safety barriers to watch. The shuttle hatch hissed open. A young man stepped out. His name was Liam Carter. He looked around calmly. He was tall, with suntanned skin and messy brown hair. His uniform was simple and slightly wrinkled, like he didn't care too much about perfect appearance. He carried one small travel bag over his shoulder. And he looked relaxed. Too relaxed. He stretched his arms and looked around the giant docking hall. "Wow," he said quietly. "Big place." The aliens watching expected something dramatic. But Liam simply smiled like a tourist seeing a new city. Some of the students began whispering. "That is the human? He looks weak. He does not look like a Death Worlder." A group of taller alien students stood near the front of the crowd. They belonged to the most powerful species at the academy. They called themselves the Dominant Circle. They were known for testing new students. Sometimes those tests were harmless. Sometimes they were not. Their leader stepped forward slowly. His name was Krex. Krex was a reptilian alien nearly 2 meters tall. His dark scales reflected the lights of the docking bay. His glowing yellow eyes studied Liam carefully. Then he laughed. A deep, mocking sound. "So this is the famous human," Krex said loudly. His friends began laughing too. Liam looked over at them and raised an eyebrow. Hello," Liam said. He gave a friendly wave. That only made the aliens laugh harder. Krex stepped closer, his heavy armored boots echoing on the metal floor. "You come from a world of monsters," Krex said. "But you look like a tourist." Liam scratched the back of his head. "Well, I'm new here." Some students giggled. But Krex was not amused. He leaned closer to Liam. "Tell me, human," Krex said slowly. "Are the stories about your species true?" Liam shrugged. "Depends on the story." More students gathered around them now. The crowd was growing larger. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Krex spread his arms dramatically. "I hear humans are survivors," he said loudly. "That your planet is dangerous. That you are strong." His voice became colder. "But I see nothing impressive." The crowd became silent. Liam looked around at the curious faces watching him. Then he looked back at Krex. "Mate," Liam said casually, "I just got here. Can I at least find my room first?" A few aliens in the crowd laughed. Krex's eyes narrowed. He did not like being laughed at. "You will prove yourself," Krex said. "And you will do it now." The Academy security drones floated closer, watching the situation carefully. But they did not interfere. Because this kind of challenge was not against Academy rules. Liam sighed quietly. "What kind of proof?" he asked. Krex smiled. A dangerous smile. "The survival challenge." The entire docking hall gasped. That challenge was famous. And feared. The survival challenge took place in the Academy's wild simulation zone. A massive training environment designed to test the strongest students. Inside it, students faced extreme weather, dangerous terrain, and powerful alien predators. Most students avoided it completely. Even the strongest species treated it with respect. Liam blinked. "You want me to fight animals?" he asked. Krex laughed. "If you cannot survive the zone," Krex said, "You do not belong in this academy." The crowd waited. Everyone expected the human to refuse. After all, he had just arrived. But Liam suddenly smiled. Not a nervous smile. A relaxed one. "Well," he said. "That sounds fun." The crowd froze. Crex's smile slowly faded. "You accept?" he asked. Liam shrugged. "Back home," Liam said calmly, "I grew up in the Australian outback." He adjusted the strap of his bag. "Trust me," he added. "Your jungle simulation probably isn't that scary." For the first time, Crex felt something strange. A small feeling of doubt. But it disappeared quickly. Because he believed one thing. No human could survive what waited inside the survival zone. The academy gates slowly began to open. The challenge was about to begin. And the entire Galactic Academy was about to learn something important. They had mocked the human. They had laughed at him. So, they were going to regret it. The doors of the wild simulation zone slowly opened with a deep mechanical sound. Cold air rushed out of the chamber. It carried the smell of wet soil, strange plants, and something else, something wild. The alien students watching from the observation deck leaned closer to the glass walls. Everyone wanted a better look. Inside the zone, the environment looked like a real jungle. Tall black trees stretched toward the artificial sky. Thick fog moved slowly between the roots. Strange glowing plants covered the ground like tiny blue stars. Somewhere deep in the jungle, something growled. Liam Carter stood at the entrance, looking around quietly. Behind him, the heavy doors began to close. The loud boom echoed through the chamber. Now he was alone. Up in the observation room, Crex crossed his arms with a confident smile. "Let us see how long the human lasts," he said. Around him, alien students watched the giant holographic screens. Cameras inside the zone followed Liam's movements from every angle. Some students looked excited. Others looked worried. Even the academy instructors were watching. Inside the jungle, Liam slowly walked forward. Leaves crunched under his boots. He looked up at the strange trees and glowing plants. "Not bad," he muttered. The air was humid and warm. Strange insects buzzed somewhere above him. He reached down and picked up a small glowing leaf from the ground. "Ha," he said softly. "That's new." Then he heard it. A low growl. Liam froze. Slowly he turned his head toward the sound. The bushes nearby began to move. Something big was hiding inside them. Up in the observation deck, the alien students leaned forward. "It begins," someone whispered. The bushes suddenly exploded apart. A large predator jumped out. The creature had 6 powerful legs and a long armored body. Its mouth was filled with sharp teeth, and its yellow eyes locked onto Liam instantly. The beast hissed loudly. The crowd gasped. "That is a razor stalker," one alien student said nervously. "They are fast. Very fast." The predator lowered its body and prepared to attack. Liam stood still. He studied the creature quietly. Then he sighed. "Oh," he said calmly. "It's basically a big lizard." Up in the observation deck, several students blinked in confusion. "What did he say?" one asked. Down in the jungle, the razor stalker lunged forward with incredible speed. But Liam moved quickly. He stepped sideways at the last second. The creature crashed past him and slammed into a tree. The crowd gasped again. "That was luck," Crex said confidently. The razor stalker turned around, angry now. It charged again. But this time Liam bent down and grabbed a rock from the ground. Just as the creature jumped, Liam threw the rock straight at its face. The stone hit the predator's nose with a loud crack. The creature yelped in pain and stumbled backward. Then it stopped. It stared at Liam. Liam stared back. For a few seconds, neither of them moved. Then the razor stalker slowly backed away into the jungle. And disappeared. The observation deck became silent. No one spoke. Finally one student whispered, Did the predator just retreat?" Another student nodded slowly. "Yes." Crex frowned. "That creature should have attacked again," he said. Down in the jungle, Liam brushed dirt off his hands. "Well," he said quietly, "that was easy." He looked around the forest again. The fog was getting thicker. Strange sounds echoed between the trees. But Liam didn't look scared. Instead, he walked deeper into the jungle like someone exploring a park. Up above, the alien students stared at the screens. "This human is strange," one student said. He did not panic. He did not run. An instructor standing near the control panel spoke quietly. "That is because humans evolved as endurance hunters." Several students turned toward him. "What does that mean?" one asked. The instructor pointed at the screen where Liam was walking calmly through the jungle. It means, the instructor said, humans are used to danger. Back in the jungle, Liam suddenly stopped walking. He heard another sound. This one was different. A clicking noise. He slowly looked up. Something moved above him. In the branches of a tall tree, a new creature waited. It looked like a giant insect. Its long legs clung to the tree bark, and its glowing red eyes stared down at Liam. The creature slowly opened its wings. The buzzing sound filled the jungle. Up in the observation deck, the students gasped again. That is a sky hunter. They attack from above. Krek smiled again. This one will end the challenge. Down below, Liam looked up at the insect creature. He watched it carefully. Then he sighed. Mate, he muttered. Back home we've got spiders bigger than this. The sky hunter launched itself from the tree. Its sharp legs aimed straight for Liam. But Liam rolled to the side and grabbed a long stick from the ground. As the creature landed, Liam swung the stick like a bat. What? The sky hunter slammed into the dirt. It buzzed angrily and quickly crawled away into the bushes. The observation deck exploded with shocked voices. No way. He hit it out of the air. That creature hunts flying animals. Krex's confident smile was gone now. He stared at the screen trying to understand what he was seeing. Down in the jungle, Liam stretched his arms. All right, he said. 2 weird animals already. He looked deeper into the foggy jungle. Something moved far away in the darkness. Liam grinned slightly. Guess the real challenge is still waiting. Above him, the alien students watched in stunned silence. Because the human was not struggling. He was not afraid. He looked like someone having a casual walk through the woods. And that made the aliens feel something they had not expected. Unease. Because if this was the human warming up, they were afraid to see what would happen next. The jungle inside the wild simulation zone grew darker. Heavy clouds formed in the artificial sky above the massive dome. Wind began to move through the tall black trees, making the glowing plants on the ground shake softly. From the observation deck, hundreds of alien students watched the giant screens in silence. At first, many of them had expected the human to fail quickly. But now, no one was laughing. Liam Carter was still walking calmly through the dangerous jungle. And he didn't look tired. Krex stood near the front of the observation deck, staring at the screen with narrow eyes. This is only the beginning, he said quietly. But his voice no longer sounded confident. Inside the jungle, Liam stepped over a fallen tree and wiped sweat from his forehead. Pretty humid here, he muttered. He looked around carefully. The jungle was quiet now. Too quiet. Back on Earth, Liam had spent years camping and exploring the Australian outback. His father had taught him something important. When nature becomes silent, something dangerous is nearby. Liam slowly crouched and touched the dirt. Fresh tracks. Large ones. He studied them for a moment. All right, he whispered. So there's more of you. Up above, one of the alien instructors noticed what Liam was doing. He is tracking the predators, the instructor said in surprise. Several students turned toward him. Tracking? One asked. Yes, the instructor replied. Humans are hunters. The alien students looked back at the screen with growing curiosity. Meanwhile, deeper in the jungle, the predators were watching. 3 razor stalkers moved quietly between the trees. Their yellow eyes followed Liam's every step. They had seen what happened earlier. The strange creature with 2 legs had fought back. And it had not shown fear. But predators in the wild rarely gave up easily. The 3 beasts slowly surrounded Liam from different directions. Their bodies moved silently through the fog. Closer. Closer. Liam suddenly stopped walking. He looked around slowly. Then he smiled a little. Thought so, he said. Up in the observation deck, the students gasped. He knows? How can he know? The first razor stalker jumped from the bushes. At the same moment, the second one rushed from behind a tree. The third predator charged from the side. 3 attackers. 1 human. The crowd held their breath. But Liam moved quickly. He grabbed a thick branch from the ground and swung it hard at the first creature's head. Crack. The predator stumbled backward. At the same time, Liam jumped onto a nearby rock, avoiding the second creature's snapping jaws. The third razor stalker lunged at him. But Liam kicked it hard in the side before it could bite. The creature rolled across the ground with a loud growl. The fight lasted only a few seconds. Then something strange happened. The 3 predators stopped attacking. They stared at Liam. Liam stared back. His chest rose and fell slowly as he caught his breath. All right, he said calmly. That's enough. For a moment, no one moved. Then the predators slowly stepped back. One by one they disappeared into the foggy jungle. The observation deck exploded with shocked voices. They retreated again. That makes no sense. Predators do not run from prey. Krex clenched his fists. This human should be injured, he growled. But the screen showed something very different. Liam Carter stood alone in the jungle. Not wounded. Not frightened. Just breathing a little harder. He looked in the direction where the predators had disappeared. Then he laughed quietly. Guess they figured it out, he said. Up in the control room, one of the older instructors spoke slowly. They did. The students turned toward him. What do you mean? One asked. The instructor pointed at the screen. Predators attack when they believe they are stronger, he explained. But when they meet something that fights back, something confident. He paused. They begin to question if they are the hunter. The alien students looked back at Liam. Walking alone through the jungle. Not running. Not hiding. Just exploring. As if he belonged there. Back in the simulation zone, the artificial sky suddenly flashed with lightning. Thunder echoed across the jungle. Heavy rain began pouring down. Wind shook the trees violently. The simulation was increasing the difficulty. Extreme weather had begun. Liam looked up at the storm. Oh, come on, he said. First the animals, now a storm? He sighed and looked around for shelter. Up in the observation deck, one student whispered nervously. No species enjoys extreme weather. Another student nodded. Most academy students would already request evacuation. But Liam Carter didn't ask for rescue. Instead, he walked toward a group of large rocks nearby. The rain grew heavier. Wind roared through the jungle. The alien students watched as Liam quickly began moving branches and large leaves. What is he doing? One student asked. The instructor answered immediately. He is building shelter. Within minutes, Liam had created a small cover between the rocks using branches and leaves. He crawled inside just as the storm reached full strength. Rain slammed against the jungle floor like falling stones. Lightning lit up the sky again. But Liam sat safely inside his small shelter. He leaned back against the rock wall and relaxed. From the observation deck, the students stared in disbelief. He adapted to the environment. So quickly. Krex stared silently at the screen. For the first time, doubt was growing inside him. Because the human was not simply surviving. He was mastering the environment. And the challenge had only just begun. Far away in the jungle darkness, something much bigger had started to move. Something the simulation had not planned. So, the entire academy would realize something terrifying. The predators of the jungle were not the biggest danger inside the wild zone anymore. The real danger might be the human. The storm did not stop for a long time. Rain poured down like a waterfall from the sky of the simulation dome. Thunder rolled across the jungle again and again. The strong wind bent the tall trees and shook the glowing plants on the forest floor. Inside the small shelter between the rocks, Liam Carter waited. He sat quietly watching the rain outside. Back in the observation deck, the alien students were still staring at the giant screens. Many of them looked confused. Some looked worried. The human had now survived several attacks and a violent storm. And he still looked calm. Krex stood near the front, his arms crossed tightly. His eyes never left the screen. This is only a matter of time, he said. But even he was starting to sound unsure. Inside the jungle, Liam leaned forward and looked at the sky. The rain was finally becoming lighter. About time, he muttered. He stepped out of the shelter and stretched his arms. The ground was wet and muddy now. Small streams of water moved between the trees. Liam looked around carefully. The storm had changed the jungle. Many branches had fallen. Some trees had even broken. But storms like this were not new to him. Back home in Australia, Liam had seen weather that was even worse. He began walking again. But this time he moved more carefully. Storms always changed the behavior of animals. Some predators became more aggressive. Others became desperate. Up in the observation room, one of the alien instructors watched the data carefully. The simulation has increased difficulty again, the instructor said. New predator waves are being released. The students looked back at the screens. And right on time, the jungle started moving again. Something large crawled out from under a fallen tree. It looked like a massive insect with a hard shell and long curved claws. Its body was almost the size of a small vehicle. Its eyes glowed red in the dark jungle. Liam stopped walking. Well, that's new, he said quietly. The creature made a deep clicking sound and moved toward him slowly. Up in the observation deck, students gasped. That is a burrow crusher. Those claws can break metal. The creature rushed forward suddenly. Its heavy body smashed through the bushes as it charged. Liam quickly stepped to the side. The monster slammed into a tree, shaking the ground. But the creature was fast for its size. It turned and swung one giant claw toward Liam. Liam jumped backward just in time. The claw smashed into the ground where he had been standing. Mud and dirt exploded into the air. The alien students watched the fight in shock. But Liam was not trying to attack the creature. Instead, he was watching it carefully, studying it. He noticed something. The creature's heavy shell made it strong, but it also made it slow when turning. Liam picked up a thick branch from the ground. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's try something." The burrow crusher rushed him again. Liam ran toward a narrow space between two large rocks. The creature chased him, crashing through bushes. Just as Liam reached the rocks, he slipped through the tight gap. The burrow crusher tried to follow, but its huge shell became stuck between the stones. The creature roared angrily and struggled to move. Liam stepped back and watched it. "Yeah," he said. "Too big, mate." The creature tried to free itself, but the rocks held it tightly. After a few seconds, it stopped struggling. Finally, it pulled itself backward and retreated slowly into the jungle. The observation room became silent again. Then one alien student whispered, "He did not fight it." Another student nodded. "He used the terrain." The instructor watching the screen spoke again. "That is a survival tactic used by many Deathworld species." Krex looked annoyed. "This challenge is supposed to break him," he growled. But the reality was becoming clear. The human was not being broken. He was learning the jungle faster than the simulation expected. Down in the forest, Liam continued walking. Soon he found a small clearing. In the center of the clearing was something surprising. A strange animal lay on the ground. It looked like a reptile with thick scales and several short legs. It had probably been injured during the storm. Liam walked closer and looked at it. The creature was not moving anymore. He sighed quietly. "Well," he said, "that's rough." Then he looked around. No other predators were nearby. A few minutes later, the observation deck gasped again. Because the human had done something completely unexpected. Liam had started a small fire. Using dry bark from inside fallen branches and sparks from two stones, he created a flame. Then he placed pieces of the dead creature over the fire. One alien student nearly fainted. "He is cooking it." Another student looked horrified. "Why would he eat that?" On the screen, Liam sat comfortably beside the fire. He turned the meat slowly over the flames. After a moment, he took a small bite. He thought for a second. Then he shrugged. "Not bad," he said. "Little chewy." The entire observation room was silent. Many alien species in the academy had never seen a predator cook and eat another creature. It was shocking. But to Liam Carter, it was normal. Up on the observation deck, one instructor spoke quietly. "This is the difference between peaceful species and Deathworlders." The students looked at him. "On peaceful planets," he continued, "food is easy to find. But on a dangerous world." He pointed at Liam sitting calmly beside the fire. "Survival comes first." Krex stared at the screen in frustration. He had expected the human to panic. Instead, the human was having dinner. Meanwhile, deep inside the jungle, something enormous had started moving. Something the simulation had never intended to release. So, the Academy would realize that the survival test was no longer under control. Because a real predator had entered the wild zone. And Liam Carter was about to meet it. The small fire crackled quietly in the jungle clearing. Liam Carter sat beside it, finishing the last piece of cooked meat. The storm had passed and the air felt cooler now. Water still dripped from the leaves of the tall trees. For a moment, the jungle was peaceful. Liam leaned back against a rock and looked up at the dark sky of the simulation dome. "Not a bad camping trip," he said to himself. But far away deep in the jungle, something was moving. And it was not part of the simulation. Up in the Academy control room, warning lights suddenly began flashing. A loud alarm echoed through the observation deck. Alien students jumped in surprise. "What's happening?" someone shouted. The instructors rushed to the control panels. One technician looked at the data screen and froze. That can't be right," he whispered. Another instructor stepped closer. "What is it?" The technician pointed at the screen. "There's an unknown life form inside the wild simulation zone." The room went silent. "That's impossible," another instructor said. "The zone is sealed." But the data did not lie. A massive heat signal was moving through the jungle. And it was heading directly toward Liam Carter. Back inside the simulation zone, Liam suddenly stopped smiling. His instincts told him something was wrong. The jungle had become silent again. No insects, no animals, no wind, just quiet. Liam slowly stood up. He kicked dirt over the fire to put it out. Then he listened carefully. A deep thud echoed somewhere in the distance. Then another. Thud, thud. The ground shook slightly with each step. Liam frowned. "All right," he muttered. "That's definitely not normal." Up in the observation deck, the giant screens zoomed out. Students watched in horror as trees far away began falling over. Something huge was moving through the jungle. "What is that?" a student whispered. The instructors quickly searched the academy records. Then one of them turned pale. "It's a Titan Fong," he said quietly. The room erupted in panic. "That creature destroyed 3 research stations. It hunts starships. Why is it here?" The instructor shook his head. "It must have entered the academy through a damaged cargo gate earlier today." Everyone looked back at the screen. Because Liam Carter was still inside the zone. Alone. In the jungle, the trees suddenly exploded apart. A massive shape stepped into the clearing. Liam slowly looked up. For the first time since the challenge began. He looked surprised. The creature was enormous. Nearly 15 meters tall. Its body was covered in thick armored plates that looked like black metal. 4 powerful legs supported its massive weight. Its head looked like a giant reptile mixed with a shark. Rows of teeth filled its mouth. And its glowing orange eyes locked onto Liam instantly. The Titan Fong had found prey. Up in the observation room, students panicked. "We must stop the simulation. Open the gates. Send security drones." But the instructors quickly checked the system. The simulation doors had locked automatically during the storm cycle. They would need several minutes to override them. Several minutes. Everyone looked back at the screen in fear. Because Liam Carter did not have several minutes. Down in the clearing, the Titan Fong slowly stepped closer. Each step shook the ground. Liam looked around the clearing quickly. There were rocks, trees, mud. Not many places to hide. The creature lowered its massive head and let out a deep roar. The sound shook the entire jungle. Up in the observation room, some students covered their ears. "That roar can paralyze smaller species," an instructor said. But Liam did not freeze. He did something strange instead. He scratched the back of his head. "Right," he said quietly. "That's a big one." The Titan Fong suddenly charged forward. Its giant jaws opened wide. But Liam ran. Not away. Sideways. The monster's jaws slammed into the ground where he had been standing seconds earlier. The earth exploded as its teeth crushed the soil. Liam rolled across the muddy ground and quickly got back to his feet. The creature turned toward him again. It was faster than something that size should be. Up in the observation room, Krex stared at the screen with wide eyes. "No student can survive this," he whispered. But Liam was already moving again. He ran toward a cluster of tall rocks at the edge of the clearing. The Titan Fong chased him. Trees shattered as the monster smashed through them. The ground shook violently with every step. Students in the observation deck watched in complete silence. This was no longer a challenge. This was survival. Liam climbed onto the rocks quickly. The Titan Fong tried to bite him again. Its massive jaws slammed against the stone. Crack. Pieces of rock broke apart. Liam jumped to another rock and then another. The creature roared in frustration. It was powerful. But the rocky terrain slowed it down. Liam took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast now. But his mind was calm. Back home in Australia, he had learned something very important. When facing a dangerous animal, stay calm. Stay smart. Stay alive. Up in the observation room, the instructors were still trying to unlock the gates. 2 minutes, one shouted. But 2 minutes felt like forever. Because the Titan Fong had now fully focused on the human. And the hunt had only just begun. Soon the entire academy would witness something impossible. Because Liam Carter was not planning to die. And the Titan Fong was about to learn something very important. Humans from death worlds do not give up easily. The Titan Fong roared so loudly that the entire jungle seemed to shake. The massive predator slammed its tail against the ground, breaking trees like small sticks. Its glowing orange eyes stayed locked on the small human standing on the rocks. Liam Carter took a slow breath. For the first time since the challenge began, he looked serious. Not afraid. Just focused. The Titan Fong moved forward again, crushing the rocks beneath its enormous weight. Up in the observation deck, the alien students watched in silence. Many of them had never seen a creature this powerful before. "This is impossible," one student whispered. "No one can survive that." Krex stared at the screen, his claws slowly tightening. Even he knew the truth now. This was no longer a test. This was a hunt. And Liam was the prey. Down in the jungle, the Titan Fong suddenly lunged forward. Its massive jaws snapped shut where Liam had been standing. But Liam had already jumped away. He rolled across the muddy ground and quickly got back to his feet. The monster turned with terrifying speed. Its tail whipped through the air. Boom. The tail smashed into a nearby rock, shattering it into pieces. Mud and stone flew everywhere. Liam wiped dirt from his face. "Yeah," he muttered. "That thing hits hard." The Titan Fong roared again and charged straight toward him. The ground shook violently. Liam ran. Not in panic, but with purpose. He ran toward a steep hill covered with fallen trees and broken branches from the earlier storm. Up in the observation room, the instructors watched closely. "What is he doing?" one asked. "He is choosing the terrain," another instructor replied. Liam climbed the hill quickly. The Titan Fong followed, smashing through everything in its path. But the steep slopes slowed the massive creature. Its heavy armored body struggled to move through the tangled fallen trees. Liam looked back for a moment. Then he spotted something useful. A large broken tree trunk balanced between two rocks. It looked unstable. Liam quickly ran toward it. The Titan Fong roared and rushed after him. Up in the observation room, the academy alarms were still flashing. 30 seconds until the gate unlocks, a technician shouted. But everyone kept watching the screen. Because something strange was happening. The human was not running randomly. He had a plan. Liam climbed onto the large broken tree trunk. It shook slightly under his weight. He grabbed a long branch and wedged it under the trunk. Then he jumped down and ran to the side. The Titan Fong followed him immediately. The massive predator charged up the hill, its huge body smashing through the fallen trees. Its focus was completely on Liam. It did not notice the unstable trunk above it. "Come on," Liam whispered. "Just a bit closer." The creature roared and stepped directly under the heavy tree trunk. Liam kicked the branch away. For a second nothing happened. Then gravity did the rest. The massive trunk rolled off the rocks and crashed down onto the Titan Fong's head. Boom. The impact shook the hill. Dust and broken branches filled the air. Up in the observation room, everyone gasped. When the dust cleared, the Titan Fong stumbled backward. It was not defeated, but it was stunned. The giant creature shook its head angrily and let out a furious roar. But something had changed. For the first time, the Titan Fong stepped back. Just one step. But it was enough. The predator was no longer certain. Liam stood at the top of the hill, breathing heavily. He stared at the enormous monster below him. Then he spoke quietly. "Yeah," he said. "You're big." He picked up a rock and tossed it toward the creature. "But you're not that smart." The Titan Fong stared at him. Its glowing eyes studied the human carefully. Predators understood something very simple. When prey fights back, when prey hurts you, when prey shows no fear, sometimes that prey is not prey at all. The Titan Fong slowly backed away. Another step. Then another. Up in the observation room, the alien students stared in disbelief. "Is it retreating?" someone whispered. The instructor nodded slowly. "Yes." The giant predator turned and disappeared into the jungle fog. The human had survived. At that moment, the emergency gates of the simulation zone finally unlocked. Security drones rushed into the jungle. But the fight was already over. Liam Carter stood quietly at the top of the hill, covered in mud, breathing hard, but alive. Up in the observation room, the students stared at the screens in complete silence. Krex slowly lowered his arms. For the first time in his life, he had no words, because the human had not defeated the monster with strength. He had defeated it with something else. Patience, intelligence, and courage. And the entire academy was beginning to understand something very important. Humans were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they refused to give up. The jungle slowly became quiet again. Rainwater dripped from the leaves, and the wind moved softly through the tall trees. The wild simulation zone looked calm once more, as if nothing had happened. At the top of the hill, Liam Carter stood still, breathing slowly. Mud covered his uniform. Small scratches marked his arms. His hair was messy and his face was dirty. But he was smiling. "All right," he said quietly. That was exciting. A few seconds later, the loud hum of engines echoed through the jungle. Several Academy security drones flew down through the trees. Their blue lights flashed as they scanned the area. One of them projected a calm mechanical voice. "Emergency situation resolved. Student Liam Carter, Please remain where you are. Liam waved at the drone. Good to know someone's watching, he said. Up in the observation deck, hundreds of alien students were still staring at the giant screens. No one was talking. No one was laughing anymore. Only a few hours earlier, many of them had mocked the human student. Now they had watched him survive something no academy student had ever faced. A Titan Fong. A creature that had destroyed research stations and forced military fleets to retreat. And a single human student had made it run away. One of the alien instructors slowly turned toward the crowd. The simulation has ended, he announced. But no one moved. Their eyes were still fixed on the screen showing Liam walking calmly down the hill. Krex stood near the front of the observation deck. His powerful reptilian tail was completely still. He had challenged the human. He had laughed at him. Now he simply watched. The massive simulation gates slowly opened. Liam stepped out of the wild zone and into the large entry chamber. The moment he appeared, the room became completely silent. Hundreds of alien students were waiting. They stood along the wide metal hallway, staring at him. Liam looked around at all the strange faces watching him. Then he scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Hi again, he said. No one laughed this time. Krex slowly walked forward through the crowd. His heavy steps echoed in the silent hall. Many students held their breath. Some expected Krex to attack the human. Others expected him to say something angry. But when Krex finally stopped in front of Liam, he simply stared at him. For several long seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Krex said something no one expected. You survived the Titan Fong. Liam shrugged. Yet, big fella. You forced it to retreat, Krex continued. Liam thought for a moment. Well, he said, I guess it didn't want to keep fighting. The alien students whispered quietly. Many of them still could not believe what they had seen. Krex looked around at the watching crowd. Then he spoke loudly. Students of the academy, he said. Today we have learned something important. The room became completely quiet again. Krex turned back toward Liam. We believed humans were just stories, he said. We believed their world could not truly be as dangerous as the records say. He paused. But today we saw the truth. The reptilian alien lowered his head slightly. It was a sign of respect in his species. The human did not win because he was stronger, Krex said. He won because he never stopped thinking. The alien students watched silently. Some of them looked nervous. Some looked impressed. But all of them were paying attention now. Liam shifted his weight awkwardly. Look, mate, he said. Back home this kind of thing happens all the time. Several students looked shocked. All the time? One whispered. Liam nodded. Where I come from, he continued, nature tries to kill you almost every day. A few alien students looked horrified. You're joking, someone said. Liam smiled. Nope. Then he said the sentence that the entire academy would remember for years. Honestly, that Titan Fong? He shrugged casually. Back home we'd probably just call that a Tuesday problem. For a moment the room was completely silent. Then whispers spread across the hall. Tuesday problem? That creature destroys fleets. And humans deal with things like that every week? The alien students slowly began to understand something terrifying. Humans were not legendary because they were special heroes. They were legendary because their entire species grew up on a deadly world. Liam Carter wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't even trying to be impressive. He was just a normal exchange student from Earth. And if a normal human could do this, what would trained human soldiers be capable of? Krex watched Liam carefully. Then he stepped aside and cleared the path. For the first time since the human arrived, the alien students moved away respectfully. They were no longer mocking him. They were giving him space. Liam looked around at them and smiled. All right, he said. So, anyone want to show me where the cafeteria is? A few students nervously laughed. But one thing was now certain. The story of the human exchange student who faced the Titan Fong would spread across the entire galactic academy. Soon, it would spread across the galaxy. And every alien civilization would learn the same lesson. Mocking humans from Earth was usually a very bad idea.